Hello again! This is basically a continuation of a video about purpose of this channel. And here I wanted to talk about my PC configuration and my preferable way to play games, since one of my main distinctive features is the fact that I am playing mostly old games on a relatively new PC. You can probably already see why I call my PC relatively new. After all, my CPU is almost 3 years old and my GPU is around 5 years old. But I think it still can be considered mid-range, and it is certainly enough for all games released before 2020. It would be enough even for modern games, if not for my excessive requirements for what I consider playable. You see, I consider the minimum playable frame rate for most games to be around 90, and I never play games below high settings, so I highly prefer to set everything on maximum. Of course, there are exceptions, like very slow-paced games, RTS for example, but this is the main reason why I prefer not to play games released after 2020. By the way, this is not about preferring graphics over gameplay or something. I very much enjoy playing games like Half-Life 1. It is actually more about playing a game only in the best possible way for this exact game in the current moment. This means that if a game like Dark Souls or Assassin's Creed doesn't support FPS higher than 60, then I will play it at 60 and I will enjoy it. But if a game is a multiplayer first-person shooter that has moments where you need to act as fast as possible or you will lose, I'm not going to tolerate even a second of FPS below 90, when my enemies probably have hundreds of frames per second and therefore a huge advantage against me. The same goes for single-player shooters, though the reason is different there. I just do not consider 60 FPS or below to be enjoyable experience. It is not smooth enough for me. I can tolerate 60 FPS, like mentioned before, but I really prefer to have at least 90 to not see screen tearing from fast mouse movements. Now, after all this discussion about my preferable way of playing games, I can finally just read my PC parts list. It's my GPU. I have an MSI GeForce RTX 2070 Super Gaming X Trio, undervolted to run at a maximum of 925 millivolts. After undervolting, I didn't see any performance issues, but I did see a 10 to 15 degrees reduction in temperatures. I have an MSI MPG Z690 Edge Wi-Fi DDR4 motherboard with an Intel Core i5 12600K CPU. To cool it, I use Noctua NHD14 cooler. You have probably heard about Noctua NHD15, and this is just a little bit worse predecessor. So it is also really good, and it is enough to keep my CPU at 65 degrees Celsius under typical gaming load. I use a 32GB G-Skill DDR4 3600 megatransfers per second RAM kit, and to power all this, I have a 1200 watts Seasonic power supply with 80 plus Platinum certification. From the periphery, I have a Logitech Pro X gaming headset, MSI Vigor JK50 low-profile keyboard, a Fotech Bloody X5 Pro mouse, and an MSI Agility JD72 Clean Edition mousepad. And yes, if you didn't notice yet, I am a big fan of MSI because I have had a great experience with them, and I also like their Dragon Emblem. For storage of games, I use two Samsung SSDs, so the 980 Pro is mostly for multiplayer games, so I think you can say that my main storage drive is the Samsung SSD 970 EVO Plus 2 terabytes. Finally, the star of the show, my main monitor is Xiaomi Curved Gaming Monitor with a 34 inches diagonal. It is ultra-wide monitor with a 144Hz refresh rate, and I can tell you that after I changed my old standard Full HD monitor for this, it basically renovated gaming for me. It is so much better to play on this monitor than on a regular one. And for me, playing old games now is basically like playing a completely different games. It is so much different. Anyway, I think this is pretty much a full description of my gaming PC. So now I am going to end this video and go and actually play something.